Welcome to Business Talk with me, Michael Avery, and we're talking cryptos again. The crypto markets have been retesting resistance levels on all of the technical charts that I have a look at on CoinDesk. And every morning I do a market crossing for hot. And it's amazing the run that cryptos have been on the last couple of weeks. We've also seen the US overtaking China as the world's biggest Bitcoin mining hub after the recent Beijing ban. So lots on the go in the crypto space. And to talk about it, I'm joined by Sean Sanders, who's a CEO and founder of Revix. Sean, welcome. I'm sure you've been a busy man.
Oh, yes. Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me. We've been super busy, but, I've always said my happiness is sort of correlated with the Bitcoin price being a predominantly long-only crypto platform. And I mean, wow, we pretty close to that all-time high again. I mean, $57,600 is the Bitcoin price as we speak. And over the 14 odd days that we've had in October, the Bitcoin price is up over 30%. So yeah, not complaining from our side whatsoever.
Absolutely, hodlers to the moon. What does it mean for the crypto market that China has banned crypto again? And I say again, because this isn't the first time that the Chinese authorities have done this.
Yeah, China, it seems at least twice a year come out and say something negative about the crypto market. It seems like the most recent announcement to ban trading altogether, and prior to that, just a little earlier this year, banning the mining of cryptocurrency within China. You would think initially, right, this is bad news, right? And it initially was bad news. You saw the market pull back about 9%. That's not that bad relative to other announcements that the Chinese Communist Party or the Chinese different authorities sort of came out and said and sort of criticized crypto and all the rest. The recent pullback has then actually resulted in this big gain, right? So from that 10% pullback, it's then moved to this massive sort of 35%, 40% increase since that announcement. And it's weird because that announcement from China led to the US come out. And then today there was the news with Putin that came out, but the US had to come out and sort of take a stance very similar to China. So they had to say, and this is the SEC now, whether or not crypto was going to be something that was going to be regulated or banned. And the US came out to say that we are not going to be banning cryptocurrencies. That was really big news. So that's sort of started this bull run that we've seen recently. Then you lay in what happened today, and you've seen another 4.5% move in Bitcoin's price today. And that was with Putin coming out to say that digital currencies do have a space in Russia's future as well. And I mean, that's big news. And this is sort of stuff where you've got world leaders talking about crypto. I mean, this to me is as mainstream as you're going to get. So yeah, it's exciting times.
DeFi, as they call it, decentralized finance. And it's because the underlying makes so much sense in an environment where we see fiat currencies and the printing of money. I mean, you've just got to think that in the last year, we've had probably about a third of all dollars ever in circulation printed. We've had the bond buying stimulus programs over in Europe. And all of this has really led to people questioning what's going to happen next to the value of fiat. It's not really pegged to anything like gold anymore. And there's obviously concerns around inflation around. Why would you say that Bitcoin is in this bull run again? Do you think it's because of some of those factors? And would it be a good time to invest in now, or should you wait for another pullback?
The tagline I've been using recently, and it's not a tagline that I came up with myself, but it is a tagline that we're running with, is that it's not too late to be early. And I mean, again, we got to sort of take maybe a step back and look at sort of where we are. And yes, as you mentioned, nearly a third of all dollars in circulation have been printed in the last 24 months. That's a crazy figure, right? I mean, that is a figure that would turn sort of any gold bull into a bigger gold bull, and have potentially gold bulls even turning to these weird or the weird and wonderful world of crypto. So that is something that we must obviously, put in the crosshairs. The second point to note is that inflation has started, right? I mean, we knew inflation was going to come. You've got supply shortages all over the world. You've got the energy crisis that's happening currently in the EU with gas prices increasing like you've never seen before, really. That's then leading to greater sort of inflation fears. And that's then the one area that we've got to look at. The other side of this is if you start looking at sort of the real world adoption of cryptocurrencies, and this is now not just looking at Bitcoin, but looking at all the other cryptocurrencies that exist out there, DeFi applications. So for listeners that don't know DeFi, decentralized finance or open finance applications, such as Uniswap, that are actually gaining a lot of real world traction. I mean, the transaction volume on these decentralized exchanges and on these different smart contract protocol layers, the likes of Polkadot, the likes of we can go through the list. Ethereum, I suppose, is the most well-known in the space, but this is now growing. I mean, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of people entering the space every single day. It is very similar to sort of the internet in the late 90s. And where it is weird, right? This Web 3.0 thing that you hear a lot of people talking about, it was like the early days of the internet. What the hell is this little @ sign? That doesn't make sense to me. What is an email? That is bizarre. And now you're starting to have that same discussion around an NFT. What's an NFT? What is a smart contract? And it's just, different jargon for different sort of terms, but in a similar sort of space. And you couple that then together with this Bitcoin ETF, which is then, I suppose, the final, what do you want to call it, component of this bull run, or the component of optimism really in the market. And that really is, it's a big factor, right? Because you've got pension funds, you've got endowments, you've got all the real big money kind of excluded from the crypto markets. Why? Because, you can't move into the space if you are a big endowment or pension fund. You can't come to the likes of a Revix or a Coinbase or a Binance in order to buy any cryptocurrency. Your mandate says that you have to buy a listed security, and you need an ETF to do that. So these Bitcoin ETFs, I think if I'm not mistaken, there's 5 proposals that are currently sitting with the SEC. Should one of these be accepted, you are going to see potentially a lot of money move into the crypto space very quickly. And you're currently looking at this market right now. It's worth $2.35 trillion, right? The entire cryptocurrency market. You could potentially have a few $1 trillion sitting on the sideline. Another interesting fact, just while we're on this topic, is if you think about the world's biggest companies right now, you've got Amazon, you've got Alphabet or Google, you've got Microsoft. I mean, the crypto market's bigger than all of those. That is quite a weird sort of stat to say. The only company right now that's bigger than the cryptocurrency market is Apple. I mean, let that sink in for a moment. This is really big now. This is too big to ignore.
But still smaller than the gold market. And I think if you, and to your earlier point, if you're a gold bug and you really believe in the intrinsic wealth protecting, inflation protecting characteristics of gold, well, then you can make a cogent argument, I certainly believe, for the crypto market to run some more, just to sort of catch up. And there's obviously the finite nature, the scarcity of it. How do you see the crypto industry, shall we call it, evolving over the next 5 years?
Oh, wow. There's a lot that's going to be happening. Firstly, I think you will see, and I say I think, I'm almost sure that you will see increasing regulation globally. I mean, in South Africa, you will see this. You have to sort of see this. There's currently no regulatory framework in place. We have been speaking with different regulatory bodies locally, and hopefully something comes out pretty soon. But I mean, you've got the SEC talking about this. There's no major regulatory body globally that is not talking about cryptocurrencies on a monthly basis. So that's something that I think is going to change quite drastically. DeFi and the crypto world sort of being in this weird Wild West that we know of today, that's going to change quite drastically. Don't get me wrong, there will still be that side of crypto in 3 or 5 years' time, because I think if you look at sort of the cypherpunks, their approach to digital currencies and sort of the libertarian view of how you should be managing your money and investing and all the rest, that'll probably still exist. But I think the core of this crypto market will become a lot more regulated. And that's, I think, a good thing for this industry as a whole. I think the right sort of regulation will be really good. I think the second factor is you will continue to see the growth of decentralized finance. We are still in the early stages. I was on a podcast earlier in 2020, so in the first 2 or 3 months of 2020, and I was talking about DeFi, and back then you're talking about not even $6 billion locked in different smart contracts. I mean, you look at where that sits today, you're looking at nearly $150 billion locked in smart contracts. So what does that mean? If you want to take out, say, a loan from one of these DeFi platforms, and you happen to have a lot of Bitcoin, let's say you've got 10 Bitcoin, you could go to one of these DeFi platforms, lock your Bitcoin in a smart contract, borrow in USDC, a dollar-backed cryptocurrency that gives you dollar exposure. And all of a sudden you haven't sold out of your crypto, you've just lent against it. And now you can have, essentially, it's a decentralized loan that you've taken out. You're paying an interest on the money that you've borrowed. You've not realized a gain with your Bitcoin. It's efficient from a tax perspective. And you've done that with absolutely no intermediaries whatsoever. And that's then essentially how you're seeing this total value locked in smart contracts. And there's everything from decentralized insurance to decentralized trading through the likes of Uniswap or PancakeSwap. Some of the names in the crypto space are weird. SushiSwap is another I can't even say that.
Sushi swap. That's
swap.
a tongue twister. There's going to be a Squid Game swap soon as well. If we think
yeah, there we go.
So
yeah, that's another, and these are DeFi, I mean, DEXs as they call decentralized exchanges. So I think you're going to see that market's going to evolve massively. The growth at the beginning, or the beginning stages, we're still in the beginning stages of the DeFi market. I mean, that's just going to accelerate. I mean, I can continue for the next 15 or 20 minutes, but I think those are sort of the two areas that I would focus on.
Very, very big trends, those, but still very nascent, as you say, emerging, but at an exponential pace. I mean, to go from 6 billion to, what was it, over 150 odd billion in the space of 12 months is just phenomenal, just over. Now, I want to go back to your issue or your point that you raised around regulation, because we've seen scandals. We've got the Mirror Trading International, the AfriCrypt, the ICE3X, all of those stories. And you said regulation is going to be a good thing, but you've actually taken this on board as Revix, because I recall a story with Mazars coming into my inbox just the other day, where you're now going to give customers some kind of greater comfort that their funds are audited and secure. Just tell me a little bit more about this partnership with Mazars.
Yeah, sure. So this all started a good 6 months ago, where we were engaging with regulators and we were saying, guys, you're looking at the wrong thing. You're caring so much about money laundering. Like, don't get me wrong, money laundering is something that you should be focused on. But the biggest thing that you should be doing as a regulator is protecting the end consumer. You've seen the KG brothers. More recently, you saw the Mirror Trading International scandals. Like, all of these scandals, like, at what point in time do you start focusing on the actual underlying business and the way that they custody cryptocurrency? So if you look at any major player in South Africa right now in the crypto space, how can you verify that your deposit or your investment with them is an actual investment with them and not, something that's just been run off with? And that's what we really wanted to solve, right? So without regulators coming forward and saying, listen, this is how you've got to have audits done. These are the parties that can audit you and all the rest. We said, well, we're going to take this into our own hands. So at Revix, we went to Mazars. Mazars has been fantastic as a partner in this, probably the only audit firm that actually can do this in South Africa. And we spent many a late nights, more than I'd ever want to admit, but many a late nights sort of digging into how can we actually show this? How can we make this as something that's repeatable as well? So we created essentially a partnership and then an audit report that verifies that all the cryptocurrencies that we hold on behalf of customers are in fact there. And now this is something that we can replicate. And that's why I say that, it's not something I would like to admit, because it took a long time to put this together. You would think, we got a bunch of really smart guys at this business, but trying to prove digital asset ownership in a way that is simple is actually not that easy. But we've managed to do that. We've done that with Mazars. And we can now say, listen, there's an audit report that you can download from our website that shows that all of the cryptocurrencies that we say we hold on behalf of customers are in fact there and they're held securely.
Isn't it, but as a layperson looking at it from the outside, wasn't it always about this ability to audit something through the blockchain that made cryptocurrencies inherently attractive? Why did it prove challenging?
That's a great question. So if you go and you had to look at, let's say, a Bitcoin wallet address, right? A public facing Bitcoin wallet address, sort of like your bank account number. You could look at every single transaction that's ever occurred using a block explorer, and you could see all the transactions that's occurred. Now, remember, platforms can't, certainly any reputable platform, you can't just be holding one wallet address. I mean, can you imagine the risk that comes with that? You've got to hold multiple wallets for each customer. You've got to ideally have those wallets in different locations with different professional custody partners. And then you've got to somehow allow this third-party institution to view them without breaking through any of your security. And you need to be able to build this in a way that they could do that on a quarterly basis going forward, right? Which is then essentially what we've established. So that was a challenge. And I mean, again, it's a challenge because of the security measures that we have in place at Revix. So I'm sort of glad that it was difficult, but I'm glad that it's also been done. Yeah, and we are the first platform globally, actually, believe it or not, to have done a full end-to-end audit. So we haven't just done the Bitcoin reserves or just the Ethereum reserve, which is what a lot of platforms have done. We've verified that all the assets that we hold, the USDC coin that we have, the Pax Gold coin that we have, the different bundle holdings, absolutely everything is there. And that's what we showed in the report.
It's a remarkable achievement and something that gives you a really uniquely differentiated offering in the South African market. Looking at the South African context, and I think many might now be considering to invest in cryptocurrencies, given the weakness of the traditional investment space and what we're hearing coming out of the Fed. What unique benefits does crypto offer to the South African investor in the South African context?
Oh gosh, I can go through a list here as well. I think if you start looking at local investments that are sort of, I guess, reliant on the local economy, I mean, what can you really see that has lots of potential and value? So, I mean, I'm shrugging my shoulders because I'm going, well, we've looked at, let's say, the real estate market in South Africa. That's been through ups and downs, more downs than ups more recently. If you start looking at even some of the darlings of the JSE, the likes of Naspers, I mean, that's also been really hard hit by what happened in China recently. If you start looking at then maybe gold as an alternative investment asset opportunity here, I mean, gold hasn't actually performed very well recently, even though we've seen inflation inflation expectations rise recently. We haven't seen this big move into gold. So there's a few questions around, does gold actually still have that inflation hedge properties that it used to have? So if you start looking around and you're going, well, okay, where do I put my money? Then all of a sudden you start looking at, and you maybe even just take the emotions out of it, because crypto is this very divisive asset class. But if you had to just look at returns and help throw in the risk side of things as well, throw in the volatility, look at the Sharpe ratio, which is then saying, well, how much return are you getting per unit of risk? So how much return are you getting for the volatility that you're taking on? And you will see that crypto is the top performing asset class over the last 5 years and the last 10 years. So there's a pretty good, and again, you don't go out there and you put all your money in the crypto market. No, I mean, you're talking about a small allocation. This is still a high risk asset class. But if you have between, say, 2 to 5% of your portfolio, which is very conservative, in the crypto market, that's really what we're trying to advocate at Revix. We think that that's a smart long-term decision. And you start thinking about diversification as well. Like most retail investors, so most non-sophisticated investors, they talk about diversification and, it's kind of nonchalant where they go, well, yeah, no, great, my portfolio is diversified, but they're all in stocks. And that's not really diversification. If the stock market declines, or if you're all in gold or in commodities, should I say, and there's a commodity crisis, you're going to face pretty big drawdowns. Diversification only benefits you once you've been in that position. I've been in that position before, earlier in my investing career when I was all in stocks, and we had a significant, this was the 2008, 2009 housing collapse in the US. And I saw exactly what it was like when you weren't diversified, and being diversified across loads of asset classes. I mean, this is the boring thing that a whole bunch of CFAs and financial advisors would tell you. That's the prudent long-term approach to investing, and that's investing. That's the difference between trading or gambling and investing.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's uncorrelated to your earlier point. How would you recommend, if you're new to this, you beginning your cryptocurrency investment journey, you're just starting out, what would your advice be?
So first things first, do your homework on the platform that you're looking at. So if you're looking at Revix, reach out to the customer support team. Look at the team members, the real human being team members that are on LinkedIn. If you can't find them, don't be doing any business with the company. Look at the company's registration. Who are the directors of this business? Once you've then got over sort of the initial due diligence process, look at how you're wanting to get exposure to this market. You could go out and you could buy the granddaddy of the crypto space, buy some Bitcoin. You could then look at maybe buying some Ethereum. There's loads of platforms that allow you to do that. Revix allows you to do that. It's very simple. As I said, there's loads of platforms. That's not really, I think, a smart long-term move because of how fast-paced this market is. Unless you understand, when I say all these names, unless you know these names well, and you're tracking these on a daily basis, and you're either unemployed or you're deep in the crypto space, but Solana, Uniswap, Polkadot, PancakeSwap, Sushi, like there's literally, I can go through 30 or 40 different cryptocurrencies, each with really interesting characteristics that are completely different from one another, looking to achieve very different sorts of outcomes. Unless you can, really stay on the pulse with the market and how it's evolving, my recommendation to you would rather be to buy into a bundle-like product. And that's what we launched through Revix. So we said, and this isn't really just a punt. I mean, like I said, start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. That seems to be a bit of the gateway drug into crypto. But once you've got a bit of exposure and you started to learn more about the space, if you're really looking at something that's long-term in nature and that's going to dynamically evolve with the market and potentially, again, coming back to the point around diversification and diversify a bit of your risk in this market, then our bundles are, in my opinion, the best approach. We've got 3 bundles on the platform. We've got a top 10 bundle, which gives you exposure to the top 10 cryptocurrencies. We've got a smart contract bundle, which is a theme within the crypto space, the smart contract oriented cryptocurrencies, so the cryptocurrencies that are likes of Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot. And then we've got a payment bundle, which then and Cardano is in the smart contract bundle as well. And then in the payment bundle, these are the cryptocurrencies that are actually looking to become digital money. So the likes of Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, XRP, and we include those in that bundle. Now, this is the bundles that we offer aren't actively managed. So we don't sit here and try guess which cryptocurrency is going to be the next big success story or try time the market. We really say we're going to give you exposure to the largest cryptos, either in the space, if it's the top 10 bundle, or each of those sectors. And that's been a winning strategy so far. This market has increased, as I said, faster and quicker than any other market that's come before. And I think that's ultimately what I believe you should be getting exposure to here.
I couldn't agree more in terms of the approach. Rather diversify and not be, and not think that you're going to be able to pick the winner in such a rapidly evolving space. I think that's a perfect strategy. But I need to, while I've got you in the Zoom room, I've got to ask you, which cryptocurrency most excites you right now? Because you follow the market very closely, and there are ones that are doing exciting new and interesting things. So which is the one cryptocurrency that really most excites you at the moment?
That's a really hard question. So I'm going to say that there's 2 that really excite me. The one is something that is very similar to actually Ethereum, right? And that is Solana. So Solana is essentially, from an operational perspective, near identical to Ethereum. The difference being is that it's far more scalable, and the transactions that it can process per minute and per second are far, far higher than Ethereum. So something I guess as part of that, it's far cheaper as well. So if you look at the number of applications sort of moving from the Ethereum blockchain to the Solana blockchain, it's phenomenal. I mean, that rate of change and the sort of the diversion from Ethereum, which is really expensive right now, and moving over to the Solana blockchain, that rate of change from one blockchain to another has never been seen before. Just for reference purposes, the Ethereum blockchain can process roughly around 14 transactions per second. The Solana blockchain can process around 70,000 transactions per second.
That's orders of magnitude.
Now, don't get me wrong, the ones, yeah, totally. I mean, this is like going from Windows 95 to Windows 10, right? And that's the way we have to think about these, because they are, at the end of the day, technology, right? So that's a really big opportunity. But, having said that, you've got about 95% of all the smart contract activity happening on Ethereum, right? So the legacy system that exists, being Ethereum, does have the opportunity to essentially improve, just like technology can. And then all of a sudden, that could be at a level playing field with Solana. So Solana excites me. The other cryptocurrency that I'm excited about, and I won't go into as much detail on, is Luna. So if you don't know Luna out there, it's within our top 10 bundle. And essentially the Luna network, and again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is essentially looking to create a blockchain infrastructure, really, or a blockchain, let's call it motorway, that allows a whole bunch of stable coins to run on top of it. So if you think about the way that we move funds between countries right now, we use the SWIFT network. You would essentially make an international payment. It would take 5 days. You would pay a ridiculous sum of money to do that. It goes from bank to bank. The way the Luna network works is essentially you are able to transfer one stable coin from, say, South Africa, and that could be a dollar-based stable coin, to a stable coin in a completely separate country. And you can do that in a couple seconds, and it can transfer from dollars to yen to rands to pounds to whatever. And it is, I'm going to leave it there because it does get rather interesting and deep, but it is a really interesting project to keep your eyes on. And if you haven't read about it, just go out there and start doing some reading, because it is a fascinating project. And
Luna, as in the moon spelling, Lunar, or they're funny spellings in the space as well. Luna, yes, Luna, there we go. That's the same name as my Labrador puppy. Sean Sanders, thanks so much, CEO and founder of Revix. I'm not even kidding there. We got a Labrador puppy named Luna just before the lockdown started. So maybe that's some serendipity. I'm going to go and do my research into Luna, which is set to revolutionize the remittance space by the sounds of things. That was Sean Sanders, CEO and founder of Revix, here on Business Talk, giving us the lowdown on the crypto market, which has really been red hot for the last while.